I never imagined my life would take such a drastic turn. My name is Evelyn, and I was once a hopeful, independent woman eager to embrace the future. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. The day I met Daniel, my world seemed to brighten. His charm, kindness, and determination swept me off my feet. We were inseparable, sharing dreams and planning a future that felt like a fairy tale. However, over time, the fairy tale began to crack, revealing a reality I wasn't prepared for. It started subtly, a comment here, a controlling action there. Evelyn, why did you spend so much time with your friends today? Daniel would ask, his tone casual, but laced with an undertone that made me feel guilty. At first, I dismissed it as care. He just loves me, I told myself, brushing off the unease creeping into my heart. But the questions grew sharper, his words colder. Slowly, Daniel began isolating me from my friends and family. After a heated argument one day, he apologized with flowers and promises of change. I'm sorry, Evelyn. I'll do better. I just want us to be happy, he said, his eyes seemingly filled with sincerity. I wanted to believe him, so I stayed. Little did I know that was the beginning of a cycle I would struggle to break. Months turned into years, and I found myself walking on eggshells, afraid to say or do anything that might upset him. The emotional abuse escalated, eventually turning physical. I still remember the first time he hit me, a slap across the face during an argument about something trivial, a misplaced bill. The shock left me frozen. I'm so sorry, Evelyn, he cried, falling to his knees. It'll never happen again. I wanted to leave. I thought about it every day, but I felt trapped. Who would believe me? To everyone else, Daniel was charming, the perfect partner in public. And I had no one to turn to. My parents were distant, my friends long gone, pushed away by Daniel's manipulations. The walls of my life closed in, suffocating me. Then, a glimmer of hope appeared in the form of my colleague, Claire. She noticed my distant demeanor and the bruises I tried to hide. One evening, as we worked late, she approached me gently. Evelyn, is everything okay at home? She asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. Her question broke the dam of emotions I'd bottled up. For the first time, I poured out my heart, sharing the horrors of my life with Daniel. Claire listened without judgment, offering me a safe space to express my fears and pain. You don't have to live like this, she said, her eyes firm with determination. She handed me a card with the name and number of a local women's shelter. Call them when you're ready. The card burned a hole in my pocket for weeks. Every time Daniel lashed out, I thought about calling, but fear held me back. What if he found out? What if leaving made things worse? The turning point came one evening when Daniel's anger escalated beyond anything I had experienced before. He threw a glass across the room, narrowly missing my head. As shards rained down around me, I realized I couldn't stay any longer. I had to leave, for my own safety. With shaking hands, I called the number Claire had given me. A kind voice answered, assuring me that help was available. They guided me through the process of creating a plan to leave safely. It was the hardest decision I'd ever made, but I knew it was the right one. The night I left felt surreal. I waited until Daniel was asleep, carefully packing a small bag with essentials. My heart raced as I slipped out the door, every creak of the floorboards making me freeze in terror. Once outside, I ran to the car Claire had arranged to pick me up. Tears streamed down my face as I drove away, leaving behind the life that had imprisoned me. The shelter became my sanctuary. For the first time in years, I felt safe. The staff were kind, offering not just a roof over my head, but also the emotional support I desperately needed. They connected me with a counselor who helped me process the trauma I had endured. Slowly, I began to rebuild my life. But Daniel didn't let go easily. He called incessantly, leaving messages filled with apologies and threats. You'll regret this, Evelyn, one message said, sending a chill down my spine. The shelter staff reassured me that I was protected, but the fear lingered. One evening, as I returned to the shelter after a counseling session, I noticed a car parked down the street. My heart sank, It was Daniel's. Panic surged through me as I hurried inside, locking the door behind me. The staff immediately called the police, who arrived quickly and escorted Daniel away. That night, I realized I couldn't live in fear anymore. I decided to file for a restraining order. The legal process was daunting, but with the shelter's support, I found the strength to stand up to Daniel. The court granted the restraining order, giving me a sense of security I hadn't felt in years. It was a small victory, but marked the beginning of a new chapter. As the days turned into months, I found a job and started saving for my own place. Claire's unwavering support and the friendships I formed at the shelter became my anchor. For the first time, I began to see a future that belonged solely to me. I felt hopeful about the future. Determined to never feel powerless again, I even started taking self-defense classes. One day, as I walked home from work, I noticed a man lingering near my apartment building. His back was turned, but something about his posture felt familiar. My pulse quickened as I cautiously approached. When he turned around, my fears were confirmed. It was Daniel. "Evelyn, please, let's talk," he pleaded, his voice trembling. I froze, my mind racing. He had violated the restraining order, but I refused to let fear control me anymore. Summoning every ounce of courage, I pulled out my phone and called the police. Daniel's expression shifted from pleading to anger, but he didn't move. Within minutes, the police arrived and arrested him on the spot. That night, as I sat in my apartment, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time, I believed I could truly move on. The journey to healing was far from over, but I knew I wasn't alone. With Claire, the shelter staff, and my newfound strength, I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, I began volunteering at the shelter. I wanted to give back to the place that had given me so much. Meeting other survivors and hearing their stories gave me a sense of purpose. It reminded me of my own resilience. Each day brought new challenges, but also new victories. Small steps like decorating my apartment or cooking a meal for myself felt monumental. They were proof that I was reclaiming my life. One evening, while organizing a fundraiser for the shelter, I met Lucas, a kind-hearted volunteer who had overcome significant struggles of his own. We bonded over shared experiences, and our friendship quickly grew. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of happiness untainted by fear. Lucas encouraged me to pursue dreams I had long abandoned. "You're stronger than you think, Evelyn. Don't let anyone dim your light," he would say. His words inspired me to enroll in an art therapy course, something I had always wanted to do. Through art, I found a way to express emotions I couldn't put into words. It became a healing journey, not just for me, but for others I worked with. During one class, I created a painting that depicted my journey, a dark, stormy sky gradually giving way to a vibrant sunrise. When I shared it with the group, the room fell silent before breaking into applause. In that moment, I realized my story had the power to inspire others. But the past wasn't entirely behind me. Daniel's trial loomed on the horizon. The thought of facing him in court filled me with dread, but I knew it was a necessary step. With Claire and Lucas by my side, I prepared with determination, practicing my testimony and focusing on the truth and the strength I had found within myself. The trial was grueling. Daniel's lawyers tried to paint me as unstable, but the evidence was undeniable. My bruises, the police reports, and the testimony of shelter staff painted a clear picture of his abuse. When the verdict was read, guilty, a wave of relief washed over me. Justice had been served, and I felt a sense of closure I hadn't thought possible. In the years that followed, I built a life I could be proud of. I became a certified art therapist, helping others heal through creativity. Lucas and I grew closer, eventually falling in love. He understood my past without judgment and supported me in every way. Together, we built a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. Today, as I sit in my studio surrounded by my artwork, I feel a sense of peace I never thought I'd find. The scars of my past are still there, but they no longer define me. They're a reminder of how far I've come and the strength I've discovered within myself. I share my story openly, hoping to inspire others to find their own light in the darkness. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine. For the first time, I can truly say I am happy. My journey is no longer just about survival, it's about thriving, reclaiming my power, and embracing the future with open arms. No matter what challenges come my way, I know I have the strength to face them head on.